First, I'd like to start by thanking all of the very generous sponsors, which include Marsh McLellan, Deloitte, Deutsche Bank, Walton Family Foundation, PwC, DAR, MasterCard, BCG, the CFAR Alliance, and the UK International Development, FCDO. And of course, the Resilience Hub is home to the Race to Resilience, and it's also been a key point for the high-level champions for the last 3 years. And along with the sponsors, we have a number of managing partners that are also critical to the hub. And it's hard to describe the amount of work that has to go into making this possible and all the programming, but we have a huge thanks to all the managing partners, which include the Atlantic Council, specifically the Adrian Arsh Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center, that's a mouthful, the Foundation Avina, ECAD, the Global Resilience Partnership, Resilience Rising, SDI, South North. So thank you all to the managing partners, and thank you to everybody who's involved in the programming, which involves over 100 organizations. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Nate Matthews, and I'm the CEO of the Global Resilience Partnership. So again, this is our opening ceremony. We are going to have one other speaker who's going to join us in a moment. He's just making his way here, Jorge, from the Atlantic Council. He's just coming through the line, and I understand his ETA is in about 1 minute. But for this opening ceremony is particularly special because we are dedicating the hub this year to someone who's been a friend and mentor to so many of us over the years, who passed away suddenly, Professor Salim El-Houk, and you'll see his picture over there. And we'll get into a bit more of that in a moment, and we have some speeches prepared. But before we do that, I would like to pass the opening to Emi Mahmood, who's a UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador, a poet, activist, and many other things. And so we're very excited to have an opening statement from Emi.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, and it means a lot to be here. And it means a lot to be able to dedicate this moment to the late Professor Salim El-Houk. May he rest in power, and may his contributions always be remembered. I think we always say that we're standing on the shoulders of giants who came before us, and he very much exemplifies that. I think when I think about resilience, especially in terms of climate or just in general, to me, it means so much more than just being able to bounce back when something terrible happens, but it also means readiness. It also means mitigating risk. It also means that a person would not live in a floodplain or in an area that's, prone to danger if they had any other choice. It's being aware and understanding the structural violence and all of the other issues that actually put us in positions that create vulnerability and simply maintain the status quo and have people having to rebuild their lives over and over again in moments of crisis. Especially when we're talking about refugees and the work that UNHCR does, and I've had the pleasure to support over the years, especially this year, having come from Cameroon just a couple of weeks ago and seeing some of the most brilliant work being done on the front lines. What I want to say is that vulnerable populations are not just subject to the effects of climate change, but they're actually on the front lines and on the forefront of change, and they're the ones innovating with incredibly limited resources. We saw one of the most extensive reforestation projects in the Sahel in Minawao camp, literally started by 5 refugee leaders. They got together, planted 500 trees with no support at all whatsoever, and now with some support from UNHCR and other agencies, they've planted hundreds of thousands of trees. And I can attest to it myself, going over there, it was like taking a walk through Central Park. I think one of the things that was interesting was when we talk about resilience, for example, it's not just that it created shade and economic prosperity because a lot of the trees are fruit trees and, such. But one of the big issues that was taking millions in funding every year from UNHCR and other agencies was that the wind gusts and the windstorms would destroy the temporary housing that was being supported. That stopped 5 years ago when the trees started to take root. So an initiative created and sustained by refugees actually ended up saving so much money for some of these agencies and things like that. So these projects are innovative and they're powerful, and there's something that's from the knowledge of the people. I say this as an Indigenous woman and a former refugee myself. What I want to do is I want to read this poem and help you sort of keep all of that in mind, and the things that I said, that when you're out here doing this work, understand that the people that you're accountable to are us. Those of us who are on the ground, who are doing the work every single day, but don't have the visibility that you have, don't have the resources that you have, and need you to do your part to mobilize it and actually recenter people who are most vulnerable at the forefront of change. So that's what I hope your job will be here, to figure out how it is, to make sure you share the light and the resources and more, and actually meet us on our own level as equals, to understand that the knowledge there is something very, very crucial and important. And that's what this poem is generally about. It's called The Song of the Earth. And again, I dedicate it to the late professor, may he rest in peace, Allah yarhamu. And I hope that it sets the tone for the rest of the event. Okay. The song of the earth is sung in morning dews and honeysuckle tones. It's resting in the bends of the Nile and waving across the leaves of a weeping willow. The song of the earth is humming in the depth of our bones in crescendos when a sprout first breaks through the soil, reaching toward that painted sky, or a child takes its first breath. It whispers when the birds fly to their second home in the winter, and wails when some of them don't return. The song of the earth is relentless. It is a retelling of warnings of old and a cry for help to those who still listen for it, who still feel it resonating. It is a presence deep beneath the concrete, a lamenting generations in the making, a pleading to remember who we are. I didn't know what I was missing until I went back home and saw the clouds. High above the skies of Darfur, I tried to make sense of it, lingering day after day. When I finally asked my uncle Bakri, he says, "That's not a cloud, it's the Milky Way. If you're ever lost, just follow the Milky Way home." How could I explain to him just how lost I was? How could I make him understand just how far we'd strayed from the knowledge of our ancestors? How could I tell him that the sky hadn't been blue in a very long time and the stars hadn't shone past a few in years? That getting fresh air was a luxury and experiencing nature a distant dream for most of us, and that the Milky Way, the sight of it a birthright I did not know was mine, was a stranger to my eyes. When did we become trespassers? When did we forget how to listen to the world around us? When did we lose the connection to what makes this our home? We are as much a part of nature as a sapling or a waterfall, earth an inheritance shared by all of us, but no longer equally. People and planet are one and the same. Forgetting this will be our downfall. My friend Forrest told me that deep beneath the layers of the Sahel and all across our world, mycelia connect everything, like neurons in a single organism. I wonder when we lost the power to feel those signals. We, absentee members of nature, connected in crisis. Thousands lost in Libya, Morocco, land, sea, and sky, human lives caught in between, human lives hanging in the balance. Firestorms in Hawaii, earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, Hurricane Idalia, floods in New York and China, cyclones, evacuations of hundreds of thousands. The thing about resilience is it becomes harder to do without your tools. My people, we draw on home, but we have been forced from home. We draw on community, but disaster has torn us apart. The earth, it draws on balance, all things in homeostasis, but we have broken that balance. It isn't hubris that makes us believe we can possess the earth, that we can take and give nothing back. It is forgetfulness. memories that were held in the hands of our elders before they had the chance to pass it down. When the earth stood still, we had a moment to remember. Removed from the equation, earth had a chance to recover. There were deer in the city streets. The skies shone blue as the sky once was. The birds came home, and the water cleared. The ozone hole began to close. Seeing how the earth grows in our absence became a reminder that earth responds. Can you hear it? The song of the earth. Can you feel the falcons calling? Can you sense the wind carrying the voices of the trees? Can you taste the drops of long-awaited rain and the smell, the cooling clay as it seeps below? Earth still works. We just stopped doing our part. My mind may forget, but my body remembers the things my grandmother knew. What nature gives us, and more importantly, what we must give back. The roads our ancestors walked, memorized like veins on the back of our hands, moving in harmony, sharing a destination and a source. When I stand in the desert, I now know that the sand has memories of greenery, and beneath it all, dreams of return. What connects us is so much more than desperation or loss or fear of catastrophe. What connects us is our shared memory of our home planet, our love and fear of water, how we gaze at the stars and the stars gaze back. It's in our laughter and the home we carry in our heart. It's in our voices and the stories we tell with our souls. It's in our future and the paths we will forge together. It's in this moment and our chance to begin again. Our chance to learn to love something without possessing it, to see a bird in flight and not cage it, to marvel at the earth and not claim it, to become who we used to be, lovers of all things green and warm. My godfather Timothy reminds me, a river that forgets its roots will soon dry up. This is your reminder. Home is calling. Will you answer the call? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy. That was fantastic. What a great opening to the hub and a dedication to Salim. Next, I would like to begin, so we'll go through a round of opening remarks from each of the managing partners. And I'd like to begin with Nusrat, who's the coordinator for loss and damage at ECAT. Nusrat.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Nusrat Noshin. I'm currently coordinating the loss and damage program at the International Center for Climate Change and Development. So I've been engaged with ECAT for the past 4 years or so, and this is kind of my gateway towards the climate world to begin with. And truly, Professor Salimul Huq was the one who completely inspired me into loving this world. I mean, I was in the development sector earlier, but it seemed very depressing. I'm not saying climate change is not depressing, but how you can actually lead, changes. That's something that Professor Salimul Huq completely, and with his truly inspiring words, always tried to manifest within each of us. And he has been a true leader and a true inspiration to all of us. If you know the organogram of ICAT, you can see there is only 2 older generation people. That's Professor Salimul Huq, and that was Professor Mizan Arkan, who are our directors, and every one of our colleagues are young people. So he completely believed that it's the young people who deserve a chance to lead change. And he mentored, I think, a lot of people, and I'm sure within this room itself, every one of us knew Professor Huq and how he was an advisor. In fact, for this COP, this was very special for him because he was an advisor for the COP president, as well as he was the advisor for the UN Secretary General. So he was very excited for this COP, actually. In fact, unfortunately, the last, I'm sorry. I think after he passed away, we were going through his stuff to find some documents. We saw his diary. There was a page where he just wrote down the dates, and they were blank.
this loss. Of course, it's very heavy for his family, but even for the Ikat family, it's something that we cannot fathom. We were trying to recover, but once we came back in COP, everything seems fresh again. Sorry, I'll maybe get back later. Thank you.
Thank you, Nusrat. Absolutely no need to apologize. I'm certainly not going to be able to keep it together for this whole event myself. So if I could next pass over to Emil, who is representing South-South North.
Thanks, Nate. And it's also bittersweet to be here at the opening of the Resilience Hub and to see so many familiar, friendly faces, but to know that such a significant vision and leader for all of us is not here with us, but is certainly with us here in spirit. My name is Emil Harikishan. I'm with South-South North. I'm the finance thematic lead of a program called the Climate and Development Knowledge Network. My director, Shanaz Musa, sends her regards. She's unable to be with us for the opening ceremony, so I'm sitting in for her. From South-South North's perspective, we joined as a managing partner last year, and it was a significant engagement with all of the other managing partners. We led the Africa Regional Hub. Just a little note on the regional hubs, it was Professor Huck that first suggested them for the first Resilience Hub that took place in 2021. And it's so along the lines of who Salim was to always look for the opportunities to broaden our perspective of what inclusivity means and to challenge opportunities for further and more meaningful engagement. And so it is with a heavy heart that we are also here to pay tribute to Professor Huck. As a young professional, there are certainly a lot of milestones and people throughout your journey that stand out. Having had the fortune of engaging with Salim over the last 3 years, I can say unequivocally that he is one of the most significant people that has shaped my journey and has encouraged me along the way to always speak truth to power, but most importantly, showed me how. And I think the words on this banner over here ring true, and let us all hold them in our hearts as we push at this COP on a number of critical issues, including loss and damage, finance, etc. But I'll leave it there, Nate. Back over to you.
Thank you, Emil. And both Emil and Nusrat jumped in for some people who are stuck in lines and also concurrently at sessions in honor of Salim. So thank you both for stepping in at the last minute there. Next, I'd like to pass it over to Jorge from the Atlantic Council. I think you're mic'd up, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was struck by the poem and so many phrases. You know, Earth responds. People response as well. And you know, yesterday we had a big victory. I think it's a testament to Dr. Salim efforts of getting the implementation of the Loss and Damage Fund approved. It's a good reminder that his efforts on advancing this agenda Loss and Damage have given fruit. And he was a totally climate hero for this fight on loss and damage. But I don't think the fight is yet done. And his memory, and in honor to him, I think that we need to keep fighting for the loss and damage agenda to advance beyond a fund. One thing that he kept reminding us is that whatever financial resources are made available, they need to arrive, they need to reach the most vulnerable and marginalized communities in the world. And we need to make sure that that's going to happen, that this fight on loss and damage is going to address the needs of the most vulnerable communities around the world. When we were setting up the Race to Resilience, along with Sheila, David Howlett and I, under the Champions, we were devising targets for the campaign, and it was 4 billion people. And he told us, targets, numbers are important, but you need to remember that those 4 billion people that you're putting in those nice targets are people. They have lives, they have stories. So your challenge, he put us to David and I, was you need to tell the stories of those 4 billion people. And so I think his memory and his honor, we need to keep fighting that fight of bringing those voices to the table, those voices being heard, financial resources going to those people. And Loss and Damage Fund, COP28, good start, but not enough. Thanks for coming here today and for being interested in being a partner to the COP Resilience Hub.
Thank you very much, Jorge. Sheila, can I pass it to you next?
Yeah, sure. In all ways, Salim was my mentor and the person who, along with David Satterthwaite, dragged me into this space. I've been doing work on issues of urban informality for the last 4 decades. And it was very clear that there was a development silo and a climate silo, right from the UN down. And we were like 2 different sets of people, and we had nothing to do with each other, is how my world looked at that time. Yet I knew Salim from the time he was in IIED, then he went to Dhaka, he set up ICAD. Everybody asked me to come many times to see what they were doing. I said, I have nothing to do with climate. And yet he was the one who actually helped me as a representative of Slum Dwellers International to actually have the courage to say, I don't need to know great things about climate science. I know a lot about communities, I know a lot about people's organizations, and I have to put that in the face of every climate activist because nobody is looking at the challenges of the urban poor living informally who are absent in a lot of these discussions. So I started this campaign, and on the 6th, we are going to launch this. I was going to put this as an acknowledgement for Salim, and I have to put it in his memory. So the book came out much later than we planned because we had to change this. But it's a very important role that he played both globally and locally. So this morning, our friends at ICAD gave us this. We're all going to be Salim's table at every single arrangement to support and assist people like me who are struggling to bring the challenges of development to the people we care about. And I think that's a very important role he played. Another thing was the conversation I had in my head with him when all of us were suddenly pushed behind barriers and then herded into a whole new way to come into this place. And I said, now that's what poor people feel like when they get herded into the safety locations, supposedly to save them. They don't know who's taking them there, they don't know where they're going, they don't know what's going to happen to them, but it's all done for their good. And in the same situation, there are 2 big shots who are going to come to that place for which everything had to be cleared out. So that's the architecture which we have to change. How do we do that? Where do we do that? Power on us to do that. And I think, I was with this gentleman from Bangladesh who said, my big leader's gone. I said, no, he's in our heads. And in South Asia, we have this word saying, chhodenge nahi. I don't know, what do you say in Bangla? Chhodenge nahi? We won't leave it. He was tenacious, and that's what we need to take forward, is we won't leave it. So for me, those are the messages. And for me, he's there. He's in my head. And I think he's there in all our heads. And I think we have to celebrate this kind of thing and come back every year and at every regional COP. That's the kind of detailing that he put together in structures to ensure that local voices, young people are part of it. So I think we have to report to him. We're still at it. We are not going to let this go. And so I'm part of that. And anything I can do with anybody to deepen and strengthen that, I'm there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. I love that idea of reporting to him. That's wonderful. Seth, could I pass it over to you next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Seth Schultz. I'm the CEO of Resilience Rising, one of the managing partners here at the Hub. And I'm just so pleased and honored that this is the way we can open it up in his memory and dedication. And thank you for all for coming. And I think it's so warming and inspiring to hear the different perspectives, because he meant a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I think that's one of the great things about him. I love the word you used, tenacious. He was one of the most tenacious people. I mean, he would not give up. But there's two things I wanted to kind of quickly dwell about from my perspective vis-a-vis him. Is one, he was a connector. And oftentimes in a world and society where we're kind of incentivized and pushed towards specialization and focusing on one thing, he did a lot of things remarkably well. But he connected a lot of people. We've already heard, his political ability, his academic ability, his inspirational ability. There's very few people that connect those dots, move between those groups, and you can see the impact that somebody like him has had. But one of those key elements that I wanted to touch on is partnership. Nate, in his opening comments, mentioned kind of the Resilience Hub and his role in it, Salim's role in it, but it is at the core made and comprised deeply of partnerships. And I think 21st century leadership is partnership. And it's something we talk about a lot, and I talk about collaboration, the big C and a little c. Everybody talks about little c collaboration. But who actually does collaboration? And collaboration is not easy. You have to understand where somebody else is coming from. There's usually a lot of compromise involved. People forget that these are essential ingredients to collaboration. And to do that is difficult, but the outcome is incredible. And I think this pavilion and dedicating it to him couldn't be more fit for purpose. The second, I want to quote Salim: with the right support and resources, communities on the front lines of climate change can be the most innovative in finding adaptation solutions. And the Resilience Hub can and should serve to catalyze and empower these kind of solutions and creating the momentum to mobilize the necessary resources that he fought tirelessly to achieve. The second thing I wanted to touch on a little bit is the scientific side of him, because we know him as some of the leadership, but a couple of things I don't know if everybody is aware of. He's published hundreds of scientific and articles, and he was one of the top 20 global influencers on climate change policy in 2019. This is also a fascinating little statistic. I ended up having a turn as a lead author on the special report on 1.5 degrees to the IPCC, and I'm not an academic, and it was like an eye-opening experience. There are a number of people, including himself, that took a lot of care in helping usher me through that process. But I don't know if people know this. He's a lead author in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th assessment reports for the IPCC, spanning from 1997 to 2014. Unbelievable commitment.
He also was in every COP.
So Sheila he was at every single COP. This is the first COP he is not attending. And it's absolutely remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. I mean, to have that level of commitment and dedication over that amount of time, and to have that tenacious, not to give up, to work with collaborative processes and partnerships to drive forward, and over those 30 years, by the way, some very unpopular topics. Yes. And he did it. And he made them mainstream, which is exactly what we're trying to do at the Hub with the Resilience. I mean, he embodies it. And then lastly, just another kind of quick, this is one of the kind of more recent and last quotes. He was being interviewed for the Telegraph India, and he said, "I am hopeful that COP28 will deliver, including in the key areas of adaptation and loss and damage, which are so important to South Asian countries." And with yesterday's announcement it's $400 million. We need a lot more than that, but it is an absolute culmination and a life incredibly well lived, and we can all aspire to what he's been able to accomplish in his life. And I think we can honor his memory by continuing to talk about him, share his impact. In the 3 hours it took me to walk in this morning, I had not anything short of 6 conversations about him on my way here. And I think that's how we can best serve his memory moving forward.
Thank you so much, Seth. And yeah, absolutely. He may not be here at this COP physically, but he's definitely here in spirit. And yeah, I think that's a great also point about the conversations. A lot of conversations have started around how you know Salim, what the connection is, and that will continue. A fantastic legacy. Andres, can I pass over to you, please?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. My name is Andres. I work at Fundación Avina as the manager of our climate program. This is my 12th COP. I'm not sure if I'll keep attending, but I can tell you from experience that the process tires you. And people, when you come to a COP for the first time, you begin to understand how it works. You build a light that you help shed that light onto everyone. And Salim was like a lighthouse. And he used to do that in such an honest way, and so simple. And something I probably shouldn't tell you, but a colleague of mine told me a couple of weeks ago, do you know what the definition of elegance is? He told me elegance is to put something that is very complex into the simplest manners. I think Salim was very elegant in that way. We had the luck of hosting a panel, a webinar a couple of weeks before his passing. And I was in a panel with him, and we were talking about the reality of attending a COP. And he was telling everyone some things that made me really think about the difference between knowledge and wisdom. So when somebody sheds knowledge on you, you take notes and you try to remember, and probably you'll quote what happened. But wisdom feels like a bucket of cold water on you. And he threw that bucket at us during the event. He told us that even though COPs are the only place that we have to talk about multilateralism in the context of climate change, they're very unbalanced. And it's the only thing that we have, but it's not what we should have. So what he was telling us, for instance, and I have some notes about the event, because luckily we have a recording and we looked at the recording after that. He told us a couple of things that were really shocking. So the first is that, and we continue to go deeper into his reflections, but what he told us is, in a COP you'll see around 50,000 to 70,000 people. We know that this COP has 70,000 people. It's one of the big ones. But out of those 70,000 people, probably less than 20% come from the Global South. And if you look at negotiators only, the ones that are in charge of whatever the official outcome of the COP is, it's also from 3,000 to 5,000 people. And again, 20% will come from the Global South. But if you look at the reality of the world and the world's population, 85% of the world's population is in the Global South. So what he was telling us, he was making us realize that the process has a very limited capacity to reflect what the needs are of most of the population. And what the process should do, in principle, is take decisions that benefit at least half of the world's population plus one. And if the participation of the process reflects completely a different thing, it is up to the remaining of the Global South that participate in that, represent that, to do as best as they can. He was telling us the Global South fights with a hand tied in their back. And that's a reality. And on the basis of those reflections, we continued to develop the strategy for participating with our partners at the COP. And we came up with two messages that, of course, came from him. The first one is democratizing the climate conversation. And not because of the fact that we can all be here, and we have, of course, the privilege of being here in Dubai, that doesn't mean that all of the voices that should form part of the conversation are being part of the conversation. So democratizing the climate conversation relates to identifying in climate action what are the stages that local voices and non-state stakeholders should be part of, and include them in planning, implementing, and reporting climate action. And that is the only thing that can create ownership, particularly with non-state actors. And without ownership, and this is a message that another one of our colleagues was adding to this reflection, without ownership of local stakeholders, we run the risk of replicating colonialist schemes in the Global South. And we, as stakeholders from the Global South, definitely don't want to do that to ourselves. And the second message that, of course, also came from Salim's guidance and that we have in our strategy for stakeholders at the COP is, and Jorge was very clear on that as well, is making finance flows available at the local level. But because if you look at finance and the finance conversations at these levels, like at the COP, we'll speak about the GCF and the funds, and that's fine. But the GCF and these other funds, they work with national governments, with national focal points. You'll have one person in each of the governments with the power to sign or not sign a project. And that basically means that the finance that we have at this level does not have the capacity to work with local stakeholders. It's impossible. So there is no finance at the local level. And that is, of course, another message that we got from Salim's guidance and from Salim's light. So we wanted just to end this, and I want to end just my intervention by thanking him, thanking Salim for helping us identify these messages and be very clear about what we need to do in terms of moving the wheel in the right direction. To thank all of the partners in the Resilience Hub that have helped us work on these messages as well. And just to say we're very excited for what's coming in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Andres. Thank you so much. And it's hard to add after all those fantastic interventions, but I would just say that Salim was a friend and mentor to so many of us, and his legacy and his influence on the COP and just our thinking, our way of doing everything has been so profound that we are so grateful. I know I am, and I'm sure you all are as well. So really appreciate all of you coming out today. I also personally just had so much respect for Salim, and as I'm sure many of you did as well. I struggled to prepare remarks this morning for this because I was just, I don't know how to sum it up. Really, it's really difficult. But we miss him so much, and but I know that he would also not want us to dwell on that and to keep his focus as a climate champion and as really the people's climate champion. Forever in our mission and our way to push things forward. And as much as the great announcements yesterday in terms of loss and damage, which are a testament to his legacy and his pushing forward, he would also, I'm sure if he was here, or at least I think if he was here, would say, that money is just a drop in the bucket of what needs to be done. And don't be dazzled by money just being put on the board, because that money was also made from very much from the damage that was brought on the planet that's causing the challenges right now. And so it's not enough to rest at money. We need much more serious action. And even the money that has been put forward, it could all get tied up in multilateral processes and not reach the people. And that's what Salim would want to see. So let's make sure that we keep pushing forward in his memory as part of his legacy and keep reporting to him, like Sheila said. Now, I'm also extremely relieved to see that AY Young has made it, because otherwise I would have had to sing. And if any of you had heard me sing, you would have already run out the room. So we have a nice way to finish this, and a nice uplifting way with a song from AY Young, who is a UN SDG ambassador. He's got a fantastic concert on the 7th here at COP, at the Recharge concert, which I hope you'll all be able to attend. And He's sung at the Resilience Hub the last 2 years and has been a real star. And I think he'll leave us on a nice happy note, as Salim would have wanted. So we can stay seated if we're all okay. But, sorry, AY had literally just arrived, but he will start singing. He's just loading up some audio. Give us 1 minute. Oh, there we go. That looks positive. Oh. Could we put the phone next?
Hey, can I just like text this to you, and then you just click play?
Can you help me find it?
Yeah, no, I will send you a link. Like,
Faster if it's sorry. Sorry.
You won't be, well, you won't be able to. Do you have Spotify?
I have Spotify.
Okay, go to Spotify. We'll just go like. So it's called Regeneration on Spotify. I'm not seeing it searching, but it is the song. We'll see it coming up. Regeneration AY. Amazing, we're not getting you good.
It's all right, man.
Good track here. Service is looking really nice. Yeah, this cable doesn't work too, right? That should work, but it doesn't. Yeah, let's see the service.
Yeah. What's that?
Is that going to be it? Because we were asked to speak as well.
Oh, you didn't. Yes,
Muturi.
but sorry, I didn't see you. So maybe, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah, yeah.
whilst
Sorry. Great. Just while we're waiting, we do have one last speaker just to provide a couple remarks. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Come sit there. Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Melanie Chirwa, and I'm here speaking on behalf of Joseph Muturi. He asked me to speak on his behalf. He's the chairperson of Slum Dwellers International. And Sheila, I'm sitting in your place, just warming it up. And I just wanted to say something about Salim and how we met him. I met him online, and many a times we were very much inspired. But I thought, okay, there's very little time, and I'm going to say something on behalf of one of the youths who had a chance to share a platform with him at the CBA 17. And she sent this. And I think it's important because we need a voice from the community. And so I'm going to read this out for you. Sorry, just give me a second. I'm going to open my phone. Look at my phone is now not opening. There we go. Okay, so this is from Camilla. She's a youth from Kenya, and this is what she had to say. I consider myself exceptionally fortunate to have had the opportunity to meet Professor Salim at the CBA 17 in Bangkok, Thailand. Salim was a unique and remarkable individual. His inclusive nature and genuine interest in connecting with people left an indelible mark on me. One of the most vivid memories of Professor was during a panel discussion on delivering LALA, lessons from the front line of climate action at the Climate Week, where we were deliberating on the inclusion of youth from the urban informal settlements in the global climate conversation. His eyes sparkled with excitement and it was evident that he not only understood the significance of the matter, but was determined to contribute even more to the cause. He offered valuable insights on how to effectively include the youth, demonstrating his commitment to finding practical solutions. Professor Salim's depth of knowledge on climate change was awe-inspiring. In our conversations, I learned a great deal from him, gaining insights that continue to shape my understanding of this critical issue. His ability to convey complex ideas in a clear and engaging manner was a testament of his expertise and passion for the subject. The absence of Professor Salim at the future CBA events will undoubtedly be deeply felt. He was a key figure who not only shared his wealth of knowledge, but also fostered an environment of collaboration and understanding. CBA 17 was truly enriched by his presence, and his legacy will undoubtedly continue to inspire many. And I think this is true even for me. From the moment I met Professor Salim, he inspired me, and every moment he made sure that he wanted knowledge to be in everyone. And I believe that even though we feel this void, the void isn't there, because it's actually in all of us that had contact with him. And we should continue to carry his legacy. Thank you.
How you guys doing? You guys good? Good first day at COP. Was it cool? The second day, I guess? The logistics have been crazy. You can turn the mic down a little bit. The logistics. So, guys, can we do a round of applause for Nathaniel Matthews and this hub right here for bringing the world together? Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy to be back. My name's AY. I'm one of the 17 young leaders for the UN, the SDGs, and I made one song for each goal. And so you may see or hear a lot about what I do. I power this thing called the Battery Tour. I've been doing music for impact for like 12 years, right? Doing renewable energy powered concerts and using the funds to build the sustainable solutions and send them to people that need it. So I'm super blessed to have been using music for impact, powering over 17, 18 countries, powering over 1,000 shows. We just did Times Square, guys. First ever renewable energy concert. So I'm happy to be a COP. So this song is for Goal 17. One song for each goal. I've been lining up a major sponsor, so we're blessed to have General Motors and so many companies coming on board to achieve the goals, and so many great artists, right? Rocky Duwini just joined, and so many working with people like Peter Gabriel, et cetera, so forth. So I just want to do the anthem for bringing the world together. We hope to add Paul McCartney on this by the end of the year, and Peter Gabriel as well. So this is called We Can Change the World. You guys want to hear something? Because we can do it. Let's go, bro. No sound check or nothing. Your best foot forward, go and make an effort. This is AY. I spoke to Akon, Marvin Gaye, we in the grapevine. Let's have a great time. The shade the world influence great minds. I'm trying to paint my version of Picasso. This is colossal. So yeah, make some noise. Good. now, baby. Hey, we got to come together now. Thank you guys so much. Guys, I'm here to change the world. My name is AY. I don't know if you know who I am. Everybody say outlet. Outlet. Say plugged in. Plugged in. I think everyone in the world is an outlet for change, right? Every facet of humanity. In order to achieve these 17 goals, we have to plug in together. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to take hubs like this and COP like this, things like us coming together to power change. And so that's kind of what I do, is music for impact. So if you guys are inspired, if you see this, it would be awesome to plug in and support. Really quick, what I think is powerful about Project 17 is we're not just doing 17 major artists and 17 major companies as sponsors. It's so I can own the music, because we're donating 100% of the proceeds, the profits of the music, to organizations that do the work. Oh, shoot, yeah, we're donating 100% of the profits of the album to organizations that do the work, and I'm so happy to have the Resilience Hub and then Resilience in general as one of the 17. We have so many great NGOs, but we're looking for more. So if you guys are like, well, how can I help power make change? We're looking for more NGO partners that do good work. We're looking for more sponsors to connect, and we'll have a huge get-together here on the 7th. We're going to do the first renewable energy power concert on the 7th at the Agenda to kind of kick off and showcase the partners. So I hope to see you guys at the Recharge, and let's power change. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, AY. And just as a last note of closing, Theo, just from Resilience Rising, just reminded me that last year Salim was up dancing to that, so at the opening ceremony. So a nice full circle. Thank you very much, everyone.